everybody, my name is the Doctor of 11 and welcome to another Doctor Who video. But today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts and opinions on Series 13, Doctor Who Flux. So everybody, Series 13, Doctor Who Flux has come to an end, with it being a 6-part story, so one big story that pans through all of the series. And you know what, overall, this series has definitely been the best we've seen of Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor, and also the best we've seen from Chris Chibnall as the lead writer, with some of the episodes in here genuinely being good Doctor Who that I could sit here and actually watch and be excited for. It is still far, far, far from perfect, but there was lots of moments that I can look back and say, you know what, I really enjoyed that. And it's been good to have that feeling for Doctor Who, which I haven't really had for quite a long time, since at least the 12th Doctor. Before we get started, I'm just going to go through my ranking of all the 6 episodes, and then I'm going to explain the good things and the bad things that I found from every episode. So first of all, for the ranking, I'm going to go from worst to best. In last place, I'm going to put episode 3, Once Upon a Time. Of course, I'll explain this later on. Then I'm going to put the season finale, episode 6, The Vanquishers. After that, we're going to have episode 1, The Halloween Apocalypse. Then episode 5, Survivors of the Flux. In second place, I'm going to put episode 4, Village of the Angels. And my personal favourite episode of this series has to be episode 2, War of the Sontarans. Now, let's go through every episode and talk about what I liked and didn't like. So first of all, we're going to start with episode 1, which of course came out on Halloween, The Halloween Apocalypse. And this episode was one that, to start with, I didn't have too many high hopes for, but then a lot of the promotional stuff with the trailers and all that got me quite excited. So, you know, it was a risky place to be because I could have easily just really not liked it and been not excited for the series at all. But to be fair, in this episode, a lot happened. The downside to that is probably too much happened. They tried to set up the whole series, but most of the time we didn't know any of these characters, we didn't understand what was going on, so we didn't really care, which kind of meant it fell a bit short. But the pacing was off, it felt a bit rushed, but it did make me want to keep watching. That was the important thing, because I watched it and I was like, I want to try and make sense of what is going on. It introduced us to so many characters, like these new interesting villains, Swarm and Azure, the Ravagers of course, and then throughout the episode they threw in other villains like the Angels, and then we had our new dog friend Carvanista, who went to pick up our new companion Dan, and there was quite a lot of interesting stuff going on there. We also met Diane and Claire, and of course at the end the Flux itself, so it was interesting. And of course, I nearly forgot, Williamson and his tunnels, which really didn't come into play until episode 5 or 6. So the problem with this is, like I said, we didn't really care, we didn't really know what was going on. But, I came off that episode and I thought, I need to know what happens next. So that was the most important thing for me. The cliffhanger, it was quite cool, the Flux was coming towards the TARDIS. But yeah, if I've missed anything from episode 1, we can carry on the discussion in the comments, of course, because this episode was nearly 7 weeks ago now. So now let's move on to episode 2. Now we move on to episode 2, which was my favourite episode of all of Flux. I found it was just a good episode that I genuinely enjoyed. An episode of Doctor Who that I came off saying, you know what, this is as good as I remember Doctor Who being what I used to love. And I think the most important part about that is this is a historical figure in an episode done right. I can go back to series 11 with Chibnall's episode Rosa, where they clearly thought, ooh, let's have an episode of Rosa Parks. Didn't think about a villain, didn't think about a plot, because the villain in that was atrocious. But in this one, I felt like Mary Seacole worked in this episode because it was a good story about the Sontarans, but she had a nice role to play in it as well. But I think it worked really, really nicely because we start the episode with the Doctor, Dan and Yaz in the Crimea. They find out eventually they're in the Crimea after the Flux hit the TARDIS. And it was a bit confusing, the transition from that, but the episode moved on quite quickly. We met Mary Seacole, and then we see the Sontarans and a Sontaran on a horse, which is the best thing ever. I love the new Sontaran design, and there's a Sontaran on a horse. That was brilliant. But I think, you know, that plot in general with the Sontarans on Earth, how they've like rewritten history and they've used the effects of the Flux, that was nice. Didn't mind that. And then we've also got the side plot when Yaz and Dan get taken away from the Doctor here. Well, also one character I forgot to mention for episode 1 is Vinda. He's been taken to Atropos as well as Yaz, which is basically this planet where time goes through, which is quite a big thing to just throw in there. But I actually didn't mind it. I thought that was fine. So we have a nice plot with Yaz and Vinda there. It wasn't my favourite thing, but I didn't really have a problem with it. So that was cool. And then Dan also got taken away. He went to Liverpool back in 2021, where the Sontarans have now taken over the city and potentially all of Britain, but we only really see Liverpool. It's pretty good. What he does is good, but the problem is right at the start, he's out in the open and he gets shot by Sontarans, but he just runs away from them and they keep missing like their stormtroopers when this is supposed to be one of the most feared war races in the universe, but whatever. We'll let that pass, because what also happened is, while the Doctor's trying to sort out to get rid of the Sontarans on their side of things, she manages to communicate with Dan, and basically Dan goes on this side mission on Sontaran ships, and they try and blow it up and stuff, and then when Dan thinks all hope is lost, Carvanista shows up, and it's nice to see Carvanista again. So it's not my favourite character, but you know he's fine up to this point. But yeah, I think it was just a really good episode that had some good side plots, and then it ends basically with Yaz and Vinda taking the place of the Mori in the Temple of Atropos. Basically, cliffhanger is the full force of time is about to go through them. And like I said, the first one I might have missed something, but overall I just really, really enjoyed episode 2. And now we move on to episode 3, Once Upon Time, which I think is actually a really, really great title. You know, it's play on words with the planet Time. They find themselves at the end of episode 2 with Once Upon a Time. Unfortunately, the actual episode itself does not get the standard of the title. It was awful. I'm going to put it straight, I really didn't like this episode. It was confusing, not much really happened that progressed the series as a whole, and I just didn't enjoy it. I came off it thinking, what was that? Basically, it looked through the backstories of some of these characters, and like, basically the Doctor had jumped into a time storm or something to save them or something, and it showed like putting them into their own memories. But there's some cool bits in there with Yaz and like some weeping angels, and it's like, ooh, what's going on here? That's quite cool. And it's nice to see a bit more about Vinda and Dan, and then we have got the Doctor finding more about her past, which we found out in The Timeless Children, that I personally do not like in the slightest. But I am actually happy they are carrying on with it, and they're accepting this is where Doctor Who's going, the Doctor is the Timeless Child, and blah blah blah, she had life beforehand. I'm happy they're at least doing something with it. It was nice to see the Ruth Doctor again, the Fugitive Doctor or whatever. Sorry about that, but basically, my thoughts were you can't spend a whole episode of a 6-part series looking at backstories. It just doesn't work, you do not have the time. The problem with this, it didn't develop a story, it was confusing, because you were like, okay, it's nice to learn this, but what is actually going on? A lot of it was just so, and yeah, I look back on the episode, I don't think of it any more highly, it was disappointing, because I'd really enjoyed episode 2, and it just went to like, it's back to how it used to be, Doctor Who's bad, blah blah blah. It was annoying, and then the ending basically saw a weeping angel take over the TARDIS because it jumped out of Yaz's phone or something. And it was kind of cool to see an angel taking over the TARDIS, but at the same time it's a bit weird, and I was like, okay. But yeah, that was episode 3, and we're moving to episode 4. So now it's time for episode 4, which, to be fair, I think this episode's got better on reflection, so when looking back at it, I've thought, you know what, that was actually really good. Because to be fair, it was just really great to see the Weeping Angels back after so long, because I think the last time we saw them was actually in 2013, which is crazy to me. Because it feels like they've been around, like, we see them a lot, but we haven't seen them for ages, so it's been really, really nice. The plot itself was quite interesting. We started in Eustachius Jericho's house, but he's experimenting on Claire. And first of all, I love Jericho. I think he's a really brilliant character. Also got a brilliant name. And we got to see Claire, who we saw in the first episode, a bit confusingly, so it makes a bit more sense. I think the link-up that they decided worked was a bit weird. I wasn't the biggest fan. But, you know, the story was good. So we find the Doctor obviously gets dropped off at this town, this forbidden village or whatever, or I can't remember what it's called. So they go searching, and apparently there's this little girl, Peggy, gone missing. Their two grandparents or whatever looking for them. So Yaz and Dan go off to try and help them. I don't quite know why the Doctor just lets them go off when I think they know there's angels here, but maybe not, I don't know. But then the Doctor goes and helps, and soon they get attacked by angels, and it's quite a cool plot. Overall, I enjoyed this episode. I think the angels are always quite threatening. There was a couple of good jump scares. I didn't obviously get scared. I think the audience doesn't, but it's always, you find it interesting from the character's perspective. I think obviously Yaz and Dan trying to work out an angel, it's quite interesting to see. I found the plot line with the rogue angel being inside Claire's mind, that was fine. I didn't mind that. The other thing that was a bit weird was when she had dust come out of her eyes and oh, this is Amy. And wings. It was a bit weird when she turned on his wings there, but it kind of grew on me, and I kind of was like, okay, you know what, this is quite cool. One annoying thing was though when the Doctor went into Claire's mind and finds the rogue angel, has a chat. That was quite cool. But then it's just when the Doctor starts spewing exposition for the next 2 minutes, and it's lovely. She's trying to work out stuff about division and my past and blah blah blah. I don't like seeing the Doctor just spew about exposition, but it is what it is. One thing that I do like was just the urgency of it, and kind of you get to that point where Jericho and Claire escape and it's the Doctor's turn and they don't blink and that's it, and it's well, wait a second, what's going on? And the Doctor blinks and then nobody moves, and basically the angels are working for division and they capture the Doctor and she becomes an angel. The ending shot was crazy. I'm not sure I'm the biggest fan of it. It was a bit why is the Doctor an angel? It was very, very cool. It was cool. I'm just not sure I like it as much as some people did. Another thing I didn't mention during this episode was when we got Belle, who I didn't mention for episode 3, searching for Vinda. Who's Belle's got an unborn child or whatever, and they're obviously Vinda and her are a couple. It was nice. Didn't fit into the episode at all, though. That was what annoyed me. So, it is what it is. Episode 4 was good. There were some really brilliant moments in it. Lovely to have Weeping Angels back. And yeah, that's episode 4. So now we move on to episode 5, which was a decent episode. I liked seeing Yaz, Dan and Jericho stuck in that century, trying to save the world from their end without the Doctor. That was quite interesting. There's a couple of moments that weren't great with that, and a couple of bits that were good. So, it's a decent sequence. And then on the Doctor's side of things, I think her as an angel ended way too quickly. It was oh, she's free now. And like I said before, I don't like what's happened with the Doctor, but I'm so glad that they are actually acknowledging it and going further with Division and all this. So we had the scenes in Division, and they were alright. I think the problem I've got is this whole thing that Division were there the whole time. That's way too big to just throw in there and be like, oh yeah, we were here the whole time. Sure, I'll believe you. But it was quite cool. The reveal of Tecteun, the person that found the Doctor, I thought that was quite cool. It's nice they're acknowledging it, like I said. The problem is I didn't really care about her character that much, that when she eventually died at the hands of Swarm and Azure, I didn't really care. And basically, Swarm and Azure had arrived with what they've been doing, harvesting people and making time energy or something to break out of the universe. Because the weird thing is, Division was placed outside of the universe, and they basically kind of hinted at multiverses and stuff, and I don't know if that's the best thing to just throw in. But whatever, we'll see where it goes, I suppose. But yeah, I kind of start to realise that Swarm and Azure haven't actually done that much. They're really cool villains, really cool design, and their goal is just to be awful and watch things die or something. So it had a lot to answer for in episode 6, and the same with episode 6 that had to be answered for was the Grand Serpent, because he had a really cool sequence where he was basically with Unit and trying to infiltrate Unit from the inside, killing important operatives to get him to himself to the top. Obviously didn't age for ages, and then we finally get to 2017, I believe, so with Kate Stewart, and basically she works out what he's been doing, because she's got a big brain, we like Kate Stewart. But all of this did have to go somewhere, which comes to episode 6, where nothing really got resolved very satisfyingly. The Grand Serpent ended up being a complete waste of a character. The villain arc literally went nowhere, and he just got exiled onto a rock. Okay? Same goes for Swarm and Azure, who were promising at the start of the series. They looked like really cool villains. They also went nowhere. They were just oh yes, Doctor, we have your memories, And then at the end they went to the planet Time and just got wiped out by time. What was the point? What was the point? I like the Sontaran's plan in this episode. It was pretty cool, but I didn't really see the point of the Daleks beside them really being there. They were kind of there just for the Sontaran's plan to work. And it was just a bit. Come on, I want to see more of them. As I say, it was nice to see those character stories coming together. Like seeing Belle and Vinda. It kind of was. There wasn't much point in that really existing either, but it was nice that they came together. One thing I absolutely hated in this episode was basically the Doctor split up into 3 different places, just in 3 different times at once. Which, that was alright. But when she came to save herself, and she starts flirting with herself, and it's like, ooh, I have a crush on her, that is the worst thing ever. Get that out of there, and don't bring it anywhere close to Doctor Who ever again. It's like with Loki, when Loki kind of loved Sylvie's, like, a variant version of himself. But it's literally Jodie Whittaker flirting with Jodie Whittaker. Get out and never come back. But it was nice to see the fob watch. And the problem that I've got is I'm just annoyed that everything wasn't really answered, and everything was fixed kind of half-heartedly. Like the Flux, the second wave of the Flux was going to wipe out the whole universe, just went into a passenger and just finished. It's like, oh, okay. And the universe is the universe still just broken? What's happening here? And I don't know. It was a really underwhelming finale, and it's a shame because the series itself was actually pretty good, and it kind of got undermined by the finale, which is a bit of a shame. Like, if all the Daleks are dead from the Flux, how do they come back for the New Year special? I don't know. And, yeah, an underwhelming finale. There were some good bits in it, and Williamson finally got a bit of story, which was nice, because he was nothing for the whole series, like, who are you? But yeah, that is Doctor Who Flux. I did enjoy it. It was better than Series 11 and 12. And overall, it was a decent series that was undermined by the finale. I'm happy that I could watch this and genuinely enjoy Doctor Who, but it's a shame that the writing of Chris Chibnall has let us down again at the finale. I've definitely missed things in this, so if there's stuff you want to talk about, make sure to put it in the comments, and I will, of course, try and discuss that with you. But thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed Doctor Who Flux, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye, everyone.